Pictures up. Rolling. You work in the lighting and grip department. Refresh my memory, you're also part of the I.A.T.S.E union, correct?
I am part of I.A.T.S.E 873. I was a part of NABET as well for a few years. And then before that, I was a part of the independent industry, whether that would be short films, music videos, commercials, and that type of thing. So I've kind of daisy chained and jumped from one thing to another over the years.
What are some aspects or realities of working in your department that you want individuals to know who are considering a career in that department? That they wouldn't learn in school, that you think they wouldn't learn in school?
Yeah, I mean, like this is a really good question, and it's really everybody's going to take this answer potentially a little bit differently depending on who they are. But really, at the end of the day, the film industry is one where the more you put out, the more you're going to get back at the end of the day, right? If you can handle criticism or if you can own your mistakes, the more people are going to be willing to help you and show you and train you in the industry, in particularly the field that you want to do. If you continue to like, no, I never did it, don't own your mistakes, continue to blame everybody else, you continue to like not put yourself out there and always wait for somebody else to call you. I mean, at the end of the day, like if that's the attitude that you're going into the industry with, then that's generally what you're going to kind of get back out of it. And so, being able to use some of the gear, being able to make some of the connections at the end of the day is you're going to learn some of that in your school. But I mean, when you come on set, we're looking for, are you a hard worker? Can you take criticism? Are you willing to put yourself out there at the end of the day? Like, how hard are you going to hustle? Right. And we're looking for that at the end of the day. I can teach you a lot of the other type of stuff, but I can't teach you those things. I can't teach you those factors. And so really that's what we're kind of looking for. If you really want to exceed and excel, like you could not know anything. But if you have those character traits, oh boy, you're going to go really far. And that's not in the grip and lighting department. That's any of the departments in the film industry as a general. If you have that type of mentality, you're going to go someplace. And that's hard, right? Like everybody doesn't want to own their mistakes, right? Nobody wants to own that. Like that's in general, right? But we find a lot of times on a film set that being able to own your mistakes can be a defining character of who you are, right? And a lot of people will know if you're owning it or if you're trying to scapegoat around it. Anybody with over a year's worth of experience in the industry is going to know if you're trying to get out of it or not. So if everybody knows if you're lying or not, just own it. And really at the end of the day, the amount of trouble you get into is really minute. I mean, like there are always circumstances where yeah, things do happen, but I would say a large percentage of the occasions where you screw up, break something, make a mistake, even cost tens of thousands of dollars in damage, really at the end of the day, production just needs to know why this happened so they can move on with it. They're not most of the time we're not looking for a scapegoat to blame like other industries and stuff like that. It's really just like, oh, okay, well, this is why this happened. Okay, cool, thank you. Okay, let's keep filming. But it normally we just want to just naturally, oh, I don't want to look bad. I don't want to blame. But really, you actually look better when you own your mistakes because the people around you can now trust you. And when people trust you, they want to work with you. When they want to work with you, oh, great. Now we got tomorrow's job.
The past conversations that I've had with others who have reached out because they see on social media what I have to offer, they will ask a similar question. And I go, there's crew members that are a little bit old school, and then there's crew members that they're more flexible in how they look at how the film industry has changed. And so I've told them that um, if you're not so sure about something, say it, but you probably will occasionally work for someone who will basically make you feel bad about not knowing something. And and so at that point, you just have to make up your mind about how you want to react to that kind of negativity.
And that's where like the job is almost 75% politics. Like it's brutal these days. It really is so much of your job is politics and such a small percentage of your job is actually doing the actual work. Because like you said, like you will find people out there that are going to criticize you for making a mistake or even criticize you for not asking. Like you're in a no win-win situation and you're going to learn really fast. Oh, this is the crew, this is the key, these are the people I don't want to work with. It's not like the industry was like 10 years ago where we only had 5 or 6 different crews out there. There's so much more work now out there to have. And so because of that, you now have more options of who I'm going to work with. And so because of that, like when you call in to take a job as a permit or something like that, and they're like, oh, this show with this crew, you have the ability to turn that down. Or if you don't, you go out on that day, you already know, oh, this is somebody where I'm just going to keep my head down. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to comment. I'm just going to do as I'm told and go for it. I myself, I still do that with some crews because it's not worth getting into with some of the people. So you just keep your head down, you do your job, you get your paycheck, you do a good job to the best of your abilities, and you go home. But the great thing is, even when you're doing that, the people around you, the other dailies, the other crew people pick up on that. They know your character. And so just because you're key now, you're trying to stay away from him or maybe the second or something like that. But the other people you're working with, they're still picking up on that. And you'll build trust, you'll build value, and you'll build credibility just by doing that, not saying anything.
You definitely do get stronger after you work on shows like this.
Yeah, you definitely get some thicker skin, and not to justify anybody's bad behavior in any way, shape, or form. But I've kind of had to learn my own self, like, why are people like this? Why are people freaking me out? And you're right, there are just certain bad apples that's just their character. That's just the way they are. You're not going to be able to do anything about it. You're not going to be able to change that. But you also do got to understand too, when you're going on out, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars being spent per hour. Your supervisor, the person above you, once again, does not justify their actions, but they have a lot of pressure on them, right? You don't know who's been barking at them. You don't know what else is going around on other locations and other departments that they're logistically trying to figure out, or balancing budgets and stuff like that. Like your small thing of, hey, I'm going to go set this up, or I got to go talk to this one person, could be one thing that your supervisor is dealing with on a huge scale in a very short period of time. And so once again, I'm not trying to justify their actions, but at the same time, when you find yourself in a situation like that, take a breath, take a step back, don't take it personally, and realize, whoa, okay, this probably had nothing to do with me, and there could be something else, and walk away from it. Right. So just take encourage to take that as a consideration if you do find yourself in a situation like that.
So in terms of networking, what advice would you give to either newcomers or aspiring filmmakers who approach a film set that's shooting on location, and they are looking for to make a network connection for future opportunities without annoying the crap out of you?
I mean, that's a great question, but I mean, huh. I mean, like with anything in the industry, it's all time and place, right? It's hard to really truly even be able to give that a perfect answer, because I have been on set sometimes where, I don't mind talking to somebody. Somebody comes on up and just starts asking questions and is just curious, and it's kind of a bit of a right place, right time, right? You're either outside or inside on location, and you're just not really doing anything, right? I think a lot of that question really comes down to how good are your visual people skills? Like how good are you with reading people? There are a lot of people on set that don't necessarily want to be talking to the public, or when we're on location, and there are other people that really like to do it. So if you do go for it, I highly encourage you to take the initiative and go for it. But absolutely don't take it personal if somebody kind of brushes you off or says whatever. It literally could just be their personality, or it literally could just be, once again, there's a lot of things on the go that individual doesn't necessarily have time necessarily to be thinking about, and they just had to walk away from set because they're so stressed out, which is why you find them alone someplace else off set. That could be a reason why. But really, like, because the industry has grown so much more than where it was, the ability to network and get on sets are so much more easier now than when I first started. And so it's amazing, just even networking on social media is wild. Like I still just see so much activity on social media. People either talking, meeting up, asking for help and stuff like that is just for me that like that's a whole new thing. Like I never had any of that when I first started. It was very old school networking style. And so I strongly encourage a lot of people literally just go online, go and cold call people, go and cold email people, just being like, hey, do you have work coming up? Do you need a PA? I tell you, in 100% of the times I've told somebody to do that and they did it. They got work by doing that. 100% of the people that didn't do that did not get a job or network with anybody. And so I strongly encourage people to do cold emailing or cold phone calls to productions. Like it's amazing how many times you'll actually get work from that. Even I'll give out my email to somebody I haven't heard in a while. They'll just cold call or cold text me, and I'm in a process of hiring, say, 20 or 15 dailies. And I'm just like, you know what? I'll just take you just because I just don't have time to find somebody else. And it's just like, oh, this is great. Perfect. One less person I need to find. You're just hired, come on out type of thing. And so I would just really kind of strongly encourage those aspects of things. I found personally like, and I'll cold call or text message myself, right? Like what if work ever runs dry, especially like over the strikes and stuff like that. I mean, I was out there cold calling people that I hadn't talked to in 10 years, and it's one of those things. I was getting work from people that I hadn't talked to in a while. And so like I share a lot in the busy season. I encourage people to reach out to people about every 2 weeks because that's generally like a bit of a cycle depending on which area of the industry you're kind of in, independent union and stuff like that. It fluctuates between a weekly to bi-weekly cycle. And so I encourage people do it every 2 weeks. In the off season, do it once a month and then see what you kind of get. Is been kind of more my way I've been kind of doing it. I've kind of found that's kind of worked, and I kind of encourage a lot of other people to kind of do that or a similar model as well. That way, you're not bugging them too much, but you're still kind of staying relevant. And either they're going to hire you because they're annoyed with you, or they're going to tell you, hey man, I'm just going to let you know when I've got work. In which case, great, you're still being remembered. So either way, you're going to win.
Yeah, I remember when I was last year when I was doing AD work for Murdoch, and that topic of conversation came up, of course. And the third AD said they get a lot of people contacting them for work because work was so sparse, and there were still some shows that were still filming even when the strike was still happening. And they said there was one individual who tried to guilt them into hiring them by saying, like my financial situation is so bad, I need to, pay my bills and whatnot. And they said, don't guilt me into hiring you because I'm not going to want to hire you if you're just going to
Yeah.
make me feel bad about it. And so I think that's another aspect of like it's not the other person's job to help you with your finances. That's your job. And it's reminding me of another podcast with another AD that said,
It's funny you mentioned that because I absolutely feel the same way. If you try and guilt trip me, especially tell me what kind of situation you're in, I have very little sympathy for something like that. Like I started off during SARS when there was no work. I was working free for the first year in the industry. My first paycheck was for $50. I had to hold down another job and then drive to Toronto to go and try and get something for free for the first year before I even started making money. And that money was $50 when I got that first paycheck. So let your work experience speak for you. Don't ever try and guilt trip somebody in, like you said. Like it's not gonna work. It's a bad way to like actually taint your name. Because now everybody of any influence talks to the different people in the industry and be like, yo, watch out for this guy. Because if you also can't handle your finances and you're out there like that, it can also taint your own reputation, being like, okay, well, how trustworthy can this guy be at the same time? So it's interesting you bring that up. That's a good point.
this next question is more for individuals who feel discouraged when they see a job posting that keeps specifying looking for experience this. And so, what kind of advice would you give to those individuals who are trying to get their foot in the door, but all they see is looking for experienced, yada, yada, yada?
I mean, this does irk me a little bit. Once again, great question because I kind of feel the same way too. I'll see some of these job postings and be like, I don't know, do I qualify for that? Am I good enough for that type of like thing? Well, what exactly are they looking for? And it's amazing how many people I find get these jobs that are unqualified for it. It's incredible the people that are in some sort of a senior or superior role that you're going to know more than they do. And so don't let that be a reason not to do it. Apply for it. Put yourself out there. Like what we were talking about before. Hustle, hustle, hustle. Work hard. How are we learning? We're learning on the sets with people around ourselves, right? The biggest thing I would just say, if you're going to apply for something that's a bit beyond your comfort level, just have an honest conversation with whoever the person is that's you're looking to hire, whether they're the DP or the production manager and something like that. Because it's amazing what in the times I have applied for those jobs, the difference in what the job really is like compared to how they posted it can be very different. And so you can always, just because you apply for the job doesn't mean that you have to turn it down. Once again, it goes back to like your own personal personality. Can I apply for something and be humble enough to say, oh, you know what? This doesn't sound like something I feel too comfortable with. Or do you feel comfortable, or is your personality type being like, yeah, you know what? I could take this on. This could be a bit of a challenge, and maybe who do I have around me that I can call and pick their brains about how to kind of be able to do that? Or who do I know that I can maybe hire out to kind of help me out on this job? Maybe it's a job where I need to take a pay cut and pay somebody else more to be able to help me out. And so those would be more my encouraging aspects of how to be able to handle a situation like that. But at the end of the day, go for it. Try it. What's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to say no. Great. There's going to be another posting next week for you to try the same thing for, especially when it's busy.
Yeah, I'm remembering a few months ago, I was on the hot list, like just looking up what shows are going to be coming out. And on the hot list, all that was posted was the first AD. And I thought to myself, okay, screw it. I'm just gonna contact them. Never met them, never worked with them, but it's like it was just them. And another AD who's been doing AD work for as long as I've been working in the industry, they said, keep in mind that even though the first AD is the only one that's posted on there, doesn't mean that they don't have the rest of their team figured out, because some people may not want to have their names, shown on the hot list. And so I go, oh, okay. But they go like, still reach out, like worst case scenario is you come on as either a show call or as a CFPA, and then they get to know you like that. So I reached out. Thankfully, they got back to me and said, I haven't even hired the rest of my team yet. So, well, I will keep you in mind for interview purposes. And so I go, okay, thanks, chat later. I should really follow up with them again, but at the same time, I've got about 5 days on another sci-fi show around the same time frame that they go to production. So I'm in between like following up about a job and being like, I don't know, should I do it?
It's hard, isn't it? It's really hard to kind of put yourself out there, especially when you're not 100% comfortable with that. But do you feel better from doing it? Do you
Oh,
regret it, or?
absolutely not. It was, I just reached out. I was nervous, but like you said, stay humble, be honest. And I said exactly that. I've been with the DGC for about 3 years now. I've, worked as a trailer AD a couple of times, like not full time, but I've learned a lot. And I think I said I would like to be considered for the trailer AD position. And where I don't have a whole lot of knowledge in, I've got people that I can go to ask, for help if the people that I'm working with don't have the time on their hands. And so they didn't seem to have a problem with how I worded stuff. It was just more of like, I haven't even hired the rest of my AD team yet. So once I do that, then I'll get back to you. I'm like, okay,
Great.
cool.
And do you feel more comfortable doing it again next time?
Yeah, it's just the only thing that makes me a bit nervous is because I still do background work as well. If I get booked for background work around the same time frame that show goes to production,
Mm,
it's like is it worth following up? Because I've already been booked for, for quite a few continuity days around the same time that they go to production. So it's like, do I follow up? I don't know.
That's tough being in the two different departments like that, right? Like you're kind of in an interesting situation that I wonder how many other people in our industry find themselves in. Like how many other people are balancing two very different positions, right? Like I mean, I think there's something to be said for slightly between background and ADs, but I mean, they're still very different roles, and how many other people out there are trying to do that? Because that's tough. That's hard.
Oh yeah. I mean, without giving out the name of the show because, NDAs and all that jazz.
Absolutely.
I went in for a fitting for the show, and I was originally booked as human. But then the people that were in charge of the costume fittings of the sci-fi, they knew me from another show, and they knew that I was already familiar with wearing prosthetics. And so it was really them that said, we're just gonna upgrade you to SSC because you're gonna be playing an alien like wearing prosthetics. And then, or
Cool.
I think they asked me, Taylor, do you just want to be an alien? And then I couldn't help but go like this.
Yes, please.
And so they just, they just did it right there on the spot. And then yeah, so I'm kind of like trying to decipher, a career growth opportunity, or, because the industry has been quiet for so long, do I take AD work because it pays a little bit more, especially on sci-fi shows, you go into some pretty good overtime. So it's doing that. What are some things that you want newcomers to know when they start their first gig as a lighting or grip person?
um, yeah, I would say a lot of times, people are really intimidated on their first day. They're really nervous. They're really antsy. They want to make a good impression. And they generally want to do a good job, and that's great. That's a great attitude to be able to come into doing. But you find a lot of times, a lot of people might overcompensate. They might overcompensate because they're nervous. They might overcompensate because they're really prideful in the work ethic that they have, or who they are, or what they've already done in the past. And I would say for a lot of people, once again, coming in and having a certain bit of nervousness to it is healthy. I think that's really good. It keeps you on your toes. It keeps you safe. You're not going to do something that you're not willing to not do, type of like thing. But I would say really for a lot of people, it's not uncommon for people to come into the industry not knowing anything. So take that into consideration. Like it's the industry thrives on people that don't necessarily know too much. So it's okay if you don't know you don't know everything. That's not going to be expected of you, right? But really, at the end of the day, if your superior or your key asks you to go do something, how are you going to be able to do it, right? Are you going to be able to work independently? Are you going to be able to ask a good question to that person for you to be able to finish the job? Are you going to be able to handle the criticism if they say, "Hey, go and change this," or "You did this wrong, please try again," type of like thing, right? You're not going to have to go and tell people your film history, that you went to film school, that you've done all this type of stuff like that. Like honestly, within the first 30 seconds to a minute, your key or second is going to know your quality and skill level just by watching you. It's incredible. It's amazing. They've been doing this for so long. They'll just know either the way you ask a question or the way you do the job. They will right away know how much work or effort they need to put into you. You don't need to try and brag. You don't need to try and tell them all this what you've done or not. They're just going to know based off of how you talk and how you do your job. So if they're going to know that, then just stay quiet, ask questions, bring your A game, do the best job you can. And if you have to do it again, okay, then humble yourself, do it again. And you know what? Some of the guys are really going to know us, picked it up, and be like, I'm going to hire him. I would gladly hire somebody that doesn't know anything. And I've hired people that have zero education in the industry. I've got them almost basically right off the street. But because I know they have a good work ethic, and I know they can ask questions, and I know that if they make a mistake, they're not going to take it personally and they're going to move on. Well, that's great. Like that's you have no idea how valuable of a skill set that is. Like it really is a valuable skill set to be able to do that. So I would encourage people that are on looking to get in, or even people that like this is going to be your first set that you're going to be on. If you can go in with that attitude, you're going to be far ahead of the rest of the people on their first day as well.
I think that's all the questions that I have right here. Is there anything else you want to add about just the nature or the reality of working in your department?
No, I think we kind of covered a lot of it. Like I was saying before, so much of our job is taught on set, by the people above you or around you. So really, like, we know, yes, if it's your first day, your first show, you're not expected to know everything, right? It's more what is your learning style, what is your learning ability, and can you take criticism, and how like you were saying earlier, like how tough is your skin? You're going to get put into situations that are going to be hard. How are you going to handle that? Those are the things that we can't teach. That's just who you are, and that's who comes to set, right? I can teach you how to use a C stand 150 different ways. I can show you how to program DMX lights and stuff like that. But can I work with you? Can you work with me? Can you work with the team? How do you work? How do you work with everybody, and how do you work under stress? Like really, that at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for. So if you're thinking like you need to know more before you get on set, trust me, you already know enough. If you're at that point, you already know enough. Just get out there. Just start getting yourself on set. Just start figuring out the trade itself because you already know enough. Work on the other things that we were just talking about. All right. Well, thank you so very much. It's always good seeing you. We'll see you out there soon, and we'll be in touch.
Yep.
All right, take care. Bye.
Pictures up! Rolling!
In terms of networking, what advice would you give to either newcomers or aspiring filmmakers who approach a film set that's shooting on location, and they are looking for to make a network connection for future opportunities without annoying the crap out of you?
Huh. I mean, like with anything in the industry, it's all time and place,